Welcome to another interview section on literary pleasures. Today, our guest is author Scott Kimak, the author of I Call Him Him, the book we are going to discuss today. So, author Scott Kimak, you are welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Let me give you a brief on the author's profile. Scott Kimak is an author, history teacher, and Kung Fu master. His story, I Call Him Him, was an idea he has had during his teenage years. But 40 years later, he decided to make a second attempt at it, and the words came naturally. Scott Kimak lives in Texas with his adorable wife Diana and 6 pets. I would like to ask you, Author Scott, what pets do you own?
I have 5 dogs and a cat. The 5 dogs, 4 of them are quite big. There's a Great Dane, a Great Pyrenees, a German Shepherd, a Golden Retriever, and then we have one little dog, a little terrier that only weighs about, I think, like 8 pounds. But the funny thing is the little dog and the cat boss around the big dogs. Like they're the ones that are in charge. So.
Yeah, I love dogs a lot. I have a friend who has Alsatian dogs. They are
Yes.
great dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give a summary of the novel. I Call Him Him is set in the post-apocalyptic world where humans discover that the demons have taken on human bodies and now make humans slaves after the nuke destroyed planet Earth. But there is hope for the humans in the person of a Kung Fu master who is named Him. Him sets out to destroy the demons, and they would have killed him but for a beautiful girl called Angelica who knows how to pray. Her prayer becomes his salvation and the salvation of the humans. You can find out how it all happened by reading the novel I Call Him Him. And I'd like to tell you, our viewers, there will be a giveaway of this novel. Just watch the video to the end and I'll tell you how you can get a free copy. Now, let's come to discuss the novel I Call Him Him. Author Scott, I find that the first 3 chapters of the novel are filled with violence, death, and demons. So I felt that the introduction was not for someone with weak nerves. What were you trying to achieve by making the opening such a gross opening?
Well, what I wanted to do, the book has a Christian religious tone to it, but I guess I wanted to make it different than a lot of other Christian books because I think, and I read Christian books and I love them, so no disrespect, but I think sometimes they don't show really like the dark side, the evil side that can exist. And I wanted to show that. I wanted to show this world where if, demons or the devil, get power and take control of the world, that it's not going to be some pretty picture. It's going to be something that's dark and evil, filled with murder and rape and, and child molestation and the most horrible things that can happen. And, and so I wanted to show that, I guess, to kind of, to almost scare people in a way and make them think like, we can never let this happen. We have to continue to fight against evil, the constant struggle of good versus evil, that we can't just give into it and let something like that happen.
Yeah. We see that the demons go into a frenzy when anyone is praying. If they find someone praying to God, that will mean the death of that person.
Right.
And we see Jimmy, the young boy who saw his father murdered, and many other humans. They believe that God has forgotten man, or that God is dead and has left the earth. Do you think that, although your novel is a work of fiction, but do you think that is possible, that kind of situation is possible on earth?
Well, I don't know. I think sometimes people, they let sometimes darkness and evil slip into their lives. And, I think like it says in the Bible that it'll come in like a thief in the night. And I think, it's not going to be sometimes where just pow, it's right there and they can tell the difference. It's going to be something that gradually, slowly might slip into their lives, and people become like desensitized to it and they let it happen, little by little. And the next thing you know, that becomes the norm. What maybe 10 years ago or 20 years ago wasn't accepted, now all of a sudden might be. And so I think if we don't keep our guard up and be careful that, that could happen to us, that, we could let, evil slip into our lives and to the point where it starts to become like, oh, this is the normal and average thing, that people go around, and commit murder and, and so forth, that this is natural. And, it shouldn't be. We have to keep up our guard and fight against that and not let those kind of things happen in our lives.
Yeah, I do appreciate your concern there, because as we read the news every day, we see that evil is proliferating all the time.
Yes.
Do you hear the recent mass shooting? Maybe it was yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday in America, where a man killed his girlfriend and some.
Oh yes, it happens all the time. I know, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
And where parents have killed their children and things like that. And it's just and it just it's just horrible that these kind of things go on. And that's why I said is that we have to keep our belief, our beliefs in God, and keep strong and fight against that. And I guess that's why I wanted to show this book and make it such a graphic type of book, because I think sometimes in other books they kind of paint this picture of evil, it's not that big of a deal, where I wanted to say, no, this is probably how it will be. This is what it'll look like if we let it get that far. Yeah. So we have to keep our guard up and not let them break through those walls,
Yeah. I noticed that you switch between point of views. In some chapters, you use the first person point of view. In other chapters, you use the third person point of view. What were you trying to achieve by changing point of view?
Okay. Yeah, I've been asked that before. I wanted to do something a little bit different, out of the box, out of the ordinary. And I thought this was the perfect book to do it because, really, I don't want to give too much away, but really the book is about mental health, and the main character. And so there's different points of view are coming from his mind, you know what I mean? And so that's why I wanted to kind of set it up that way, that, like I said, I don't want to give too much away of the story.
Yeah, but, we want the viewers to read it.
But he's very conflicted. The main character is very conflicted, and you see in the beginning how he's just this, this killing machine, that is bent on revenge for what happened to his family, and so that's all he thinks about. But then you'll see, as the story goes on and he starts to open up, that it's going to change a little bit, and so that's why I wanted to show it, kind of show his mind from different points of view on how the different, personalities are seeing it and so forth.
Yeah, that's appreciated. There is also something I noticed. There are several subplots in the story. Let me mention some. We have the subplot of Abraham, the leader of the demons, who came under the control of the master from an early age. Then we have the subplot of the main character, him, and his two companions. Then we have the subplot of Angelica, whose parents the demons killed. Then we also have the subplot of Senshan, the Shaolin monk, who saw his wife killed before his eyes by the demons and his grandson Fu taken prisoner by Abraham.
Right.
Now, this is the first story I am reading with such a mixture of subplots which lead up to the climax. I must confess to you that you did it well. Why did you decide on so many subplots to tell the story?
Well, for one, it's only the first book of a trilogy, so I wanted, there's several characters that are out, through the 3 books. So, I wanted to be able to introduce them all, of course, in the first book. And so I had to kind of pack them in a little bit, so we will find out more about those characters, in the second and the third book. But I also wanted to make the book very diverse. The different characters are all coming from different backgrounds, like Seng Shan, for example, is Chinese. Katie is she's Mexican American. And him and Bill, they're white. So I wanted to have like these different diverse characters from different backgrounds and so forth, but then they all have a common purpose, that they're all could, have their different stories and how this apocalyptic world affected them, but then they could come together, in the end, to be able to, fight against that final struggle of good versus evil. I think that's a problem sometimes, we have in this world, and especially in America lately, between, different politics and so forth, that in different races, that people can't always get along. And that's what I wanted to show, that, these different types of people, even though they're from different, countries, diverse and different backgrounds, that they could come together for a common purpose, the fight of good versus evil.
Yeah. I will give you credit for one thing. Do you know what it is? There is no dull moment in the story. From chapter to chapter, it is packed full of action.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. How did you achieve this? What is your secret?
Well, yeah, I think part of it, I think I have a good imagination. I think when I was a child, I actually lived on a dead end street where there wasn't that many people around where I lived, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and so I didn't have like any friends, to play with that were my own age. So I had to play by myself, and use my imagination. And I used to love to read, and I would read a lot of Edgar Rice Burroughs books when I was a kid. I read like all the Tarzan books and John Carter of Mars, and and all those novels. And so I would read those books, and then I would go outside and play by myself, and to pretend to be those characters and try to put myself in different situations. And those books were all about action and adventure. So I think it just in a way it made me have a very good imagination on how to create action and adventure. And then another thing is, then I got into the martial arts. I started studying Kung Fu when I was a kid. I've done it for over 40 years. And so because of that, I'm always, with martial arts, around action and adventure, of how the body moves and how to defend yourself and how to spar against other people and defend, different attacks that they try to grab you or get you down and things like that. So I think, that was also, a good way to help me be able to write, these type of novels too, that are filled with, sword fighting and kung fu and so forth, because it's a lot of things that I've actually can visualize, that I can experience, because I actually have done it myself.
Okay. Yeah, you have a long history of dealing with action and adventure.
Yes, yes.
Now, the master's character is a very spectacular one. We don't see him much until the end, when it is revealed that he is the one controlling the demons. Now, how was the master able to do it? How was he able to control the demons, to make all the demons take on human form and enslave humans?
Okay. Well, so really, I guess you find this out, earlier in the book, so it's not too much of a giveaway. But in reality, the demons are the humans that survived on the surface when the nuclear war happens. But their bodies have been attacked, with radiation poisoning, and so they're on the verge of death. And they are in so much pain and, and discomfort, because they're dying, and their body is just, tearing away from sores, and their hair is falling out and so forth. So, the master, the evil demon or antichrist or whatever you want to call him, he uses this to his advantage by, coming to these people and saying, if I can free you of your pain, if you follow me, believe in me and follow me, turn to my, to my side and follow, a demon, or a devil or whatever, he is, then I'll free you of this. And so that's how he, converts these people to him and makes them follow him. And then, the humans that survived underground, through the nuclear war, then when they, return, to the surface, not knowing, what has happened, then this demon race that is on the top, enslaves them. And so, and prevents them, from being able to have religion or believe in God or anything like that, because that goes against what the master, is, because the master is pure evil.
Yeah. So what's the message of your story? What message are you putting across to the reader?
Well, I guess what I'm trying to push is that no matter how bad things look, no matter how grim, life can become or whatever, that to never, give up, and to try to always keep your faith and keep your hope, and your beliefs, and, don't give in to evil, to try to remain, to the side of good and be a good person, and don't let, because I think sometimes it's easy. I think sometimes it's easy to give in to darkness or evil. It's a lot harder to be good. And I think that's what the main message is from this book, is that to never give up in your beliefs, and to keep fighting for what you believe is right.
Yeah, that's an inspirational message. So
Well,
you write like a master of words. I love that.
Oh, thank you.
What advice do you have for new writers who would like to be in your shoes?
Okay, I would, for new writers, I think always what I suggest is to read, to read a lot, because I still find myself doing that sometimes. Sometimes I'll be writing something, and then I'll think, because I have a lot of favorite authors, and I'll think, how would that author have written that? And I'll go and I'll kind of try to find, something that he wrote, that was similar or something, and I'll say, oh yeah, okay, I see that. So I think you can always learn, from other authors, by reading all the time. I think that's very important, to read as much as you can. I would say that's one thing. I would say the second thing is, I didn't realize when I got into this how important the marketing, side is, to be able to create a following, to be able to get out there on social media, and and spread the word. That was new to me. I figured, I just write it and people they'll just come to it. They'll read it and come to it. But it's not that easy. You have to get out there and advertise and market. So I would suggest, you know, to new authors to take as many like, you know, training webinars and things like that they can, you know, on how to market your book, how to create a social media presence, you know, and how to build more followers, you know, before you actually decide to publish. I think, you know, that's very important.
Yeah. So can you recommend a book that influenced you during your writing career?
Oh, yes, definitely. Probably my favorite author today, and has been for the last, you know, 20 years, is R.A. Salvatore. He writes the Legend of Drizzt novels, which is all about a dark elf. It's like along the lines of Dungeons and Dragons, you know, Forgotten Realms, fantasy novel. He's written like 30 novels on that character, and been very successful. But I just love the way that he writes his battle scenes. He's really good at sword fighting scenes and so forth. So I mean, yeah, I love the way that he writes. So I would definitely recommend him.
Thank you very much. So viewers, you have heard from the author himself, Author Scott. I will encourage you to buy the book on Amazon. This book is a trilogy. I call him is the first series of the trilogy. So the purchase link is on the video description. You can get to Amazon and pick the 3 books in the trilogy and buy them because it's an interesting book. And the book is also in the Kindle edition and paperback. Also, yes, please like, comment, and subscribe to this video. Now let's come to the giveaway. I said we'll have a giveaway. So the author has promised to provide free copies of his novel I Call Him to subscribers, but on one condition. Whoever is getting a free copy would promise to review the book on the Amazon page. So if you promise to make a review of the book on the Amazon page, you can comment below and I'll send you a copy to read and comment. So we have come to the end of the video, Scott Kimak. What are your last words for my audience who comprise of readers and writers?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that last part. What was that?
I said, what are your last words for my audience who comprise readers and writers?
Oh, okay. Well, yes. Yeah, the first book has already been out. The second book actually just came out on Thursday, part 2. So that one's called The Angel of Death, and it picks up right after where the first book ended. So I would ask that people also go out and purchase that one. And the third book, which is going to be called The Sword of God, that one should probably, I'm almost finished writing that one. So that one will probably be ready, you know, maybe by the end of the summer, I think.
So, Author Scott Kimak, I would like to say in behalf of my viewers, thank you very much for being our guest today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.